You look like you need a place to belong. My little girl needs someone she can someday call Mom," the reclusive billionaire told the shivering black maid hunched on the frozen bench. Naomi Brooks, 35, curled beneath the flickering bus shelter light on 7th Avenue, shoulders caving in. Her body shook in relentless spasms, fever heat battling the brutal winter gnawing through her bones. Her faded gray cleaning uniform peeked out under a thin, worn-out coat. Bare, swollen hands, chapped and red, hid inside 2 long sleeves. Hours earlier she'd been kneeling on marble floors in a brownstone, reeking of bleach and old money. She'd told her employer she was sick, first in a timid whisper, then louder when her knees gave out. "I've got a fever, sir. I just need a short break," she pleaded, vision swimming. The man never lifted his gaze from his phone. "You people always have some excuse," he snapped, waving dismissively. So Naomi kept scrubbing, each swipe of the cloth pounding behind her eyes like a hammer. When she slowed, he finally noticed. When she begged to finish the remaining rooms in the morning, he laughed. "You'll finish tonight or you don't get a dime," he said, voice sharp as glass. By the time she wiped the last counter, her vision smeared at the edges. She reached for the envelope of cash on the table. He yanked it away. "Docking you for moving like a slug." She begged again, voice ragged, first quietly, then with humiliating tears she hated. She mentioned the fever, the missed bus, the snowstorm. He called her lazy, ungrateful, lucky to have any work at all. When she didn't move fast enough toward the door, he grabbed a heavy glass paperweight from the desk and hurled it toward the wall. It shattered inches from her head. "Get out! Don't come back!" She stumbled into the icy night with nothing but the clothes on her back and a nearly empty bag. The door slammed behind her, lock clicking like final judgment. Hours later, Naomi's harsh cough split the wind. She pressed her lips together, refusing to cry. Life had taught her tears didn't wake pity in people. They only confirmed whatever ugliness they already believed about you. Snow drifted into her lap, graceful and merciless. Then came the crunch of tires over packed ice. A black SUV rolled slowly down the block, headlights cutting tunnels through the falling snow. It eased to a stop near the shelter, engine purring low. In the back seat, an 8-year-old girl pressed mittened hands to the window, breath fogging the glass. Her big brown eyes were watchful, serious, holding a quiet knowing far older than her small face. "Daddy," she whispered, not looking away from Naomi. "She's cold, like Mommy looks in my dreams." Damian Hale, 45, felt his chest constrict. For 2 years he'd driven these streets wrapped in silence and guilt. Damian, known on magazine covers everywhere, understood by almost no one, never stopped for strangers. Tonight he stepped on the brake. He climbed out, the cold slicing through his coat, grabbed a navy cashmere scarf from the back seat. Soft, worn, still faintly scented of lavender, the scarf lay in his hands like a memory. He crossed the street and gently draped it around Naomi's shoulders. "At least keep warm," he said quietly, voice rough. Naomi flinched, then looked up, startled. Snow clung to her lashes, glittering in the streetlight. "I'm fine," she lied, voice thin. "Just waiting for the next bus." She tightened her empty bag against her side. "There isn't another bus tonight," Damian replied evenly. "Storm shut them down." "I'll manage," she insisted, before a violent cough doubled her over. When she straightened, she noticed the girl in the SUV watching with open concern. That small, earnest gaze decided everything. "Let me drive you," Damian said. "You can't stay out here all night. Habit, pride, and raw fear tangled inside Naomi, but finally she nodded. Just to the main station. The SUV's warmth burned her frozen skin, almost painful. The little girl offered a shy smile. "Hi, I'm Maya." "Naomi," she answered, managing a faint smile back. For a moment, only the wipers scraped against the storm. Then Maya reached forward, slipping off a pink hair tie. "You can fix my ponytail. It's all crooked," she said solemnly. Naomi chuckled softly, gently gathering the girl's curls. Maya didn't flinch away from her touch. Damian watched in the rearview mirror, throat tightening. His daughter hadn't let anyone touch her hair since her mother died. "I was going to drop you at a hotel," he said slowly, "but you said you're not home." Naomi tensed. He chose his next words with care. "You need a home, and my daughter, she needs someone she can call Mom again." The words hovered between them, fragile as thin ice on the river. Naomi searched his face for mockery, pity, any hint of insincerity. She saw only bone-deep exhaustion and honesty. Before she could respond, Maya leaned forward, hugging her teddy bear. "Please stay," she whispered, "at least for my bedtime story." Snow brushed the windows in soft white smears. Naomi clutched the scarf closer, letting its warmth sink deeper. "Okay," she murmured, almost to herself. "Just for tonight." The SUV turned toward the river in a neighborhood she'd never seen. The house rose tall and modern, all glass and stone, beautiful and echoing. Inside, no family photos, no scattered toys, no messy sneakers by the door, just spotless surfaces and too much open space, humming with quiet. "This place feels empty," Naomi said under her breath. "It has been," Damian answered, "since she passed." Maya tugged Naomi's hand. "I'll show you my room." Naomi followed, heart heavy, but footsteps strangely light. She read a story about a snow fox, brushed Maya's hair, felt the child slowly relax against her. When Maya finally slept, Naomi lingered, fingers resting on the blanket, hardly believing she'd become a comfort this quickly. She had been humiliated, shoved into the freezing dark, stripped of dignity. Yet here, unexpectedly, warmth had found her. Not as rescue or charity, but as the quiet first spark of something she didn't dare name. The guest room waited at the end of the upstairs hallway, small and hushed. A gentle electric fireplace hummed beneath the window. A thick quilt was smoothed over the bed. An old armchair cozied beside a nightstand where a steaming mug of real hot cocoa waited, fragrant and rich. Beside the mug, a folded note in elegant handwriting read, "Thank you for staying, even if it's only tonight." Naomi stood in the doorway, the room's warmth brushing her chilled skin, fever still simmering behind her eyes. Her throat burned, muscles ached from overwork and cold. But something deeper stirred, an unfamiliar sensation of being noticed, seen. She sank into the armchair, pulled the quilt over her lap, and wrapped aching hands around the mug. The cocoa warmed her from the inside, loosening something stubbornly frozen within. Firelight flickered softly. The room was modest, yet nothing about it felt temporary. No harsh overhead lights, no bleach stains, no scolding voices demanding more. Here there was softness, and a kind of silence that didn't hurt. Naomi let her eyelids fall for a moment, letting her guard slip just a little, just for tonight. Down the hall, a floorboard creaked comfortably. Maybe it was Maya shifting in bed, maybe Damian checking on his daughter like he did every night. The sound didn't raise alarm. It was simply the breath of a house remembering how to live. In the early morning, Naomi woke to the faint smell of a coffee drifting under the door. She stretched carefully, surprise blooming when she realized she wasn't shivering. The scarf was still around her shoulders like a promise. Downstairs, the kitchen glowed with soft under-cabinet lights. Sleek countertops gleamed, everything neatly aligned. No clutter, no sticky jars, no chaotic piles. The space felt more like a magazine spread than a place where people laughed and spilled things. Damian stood by the stove, pouring water into a kettle. He wore a gray sweater over a white shirt, sleeves rolled up. He didn't look like a billionaire, just a tired father barely holding the edges together. He turned as she stepped in. "Morning," he said. "Good morning," she answered, voice raspy. The room was... She searched for the right word. "Kind," she finished. His mouth tipped in a faint smile. "Glad it worked for you." Maya padded in, bear-shaped, fuzzy socks sliding on the floor. She clutched a crayon drawing, her curls exploding in all directions. Without thinking, Naomi reached for the hairbrush on the counter, amused smile tugging her lips. "Want help taming this situation?" Naomi asked. Maya giggled. "Please, Daddy's ponytails are lopsided." Damian lifted a brow. "They have character," he protested. Naomi laughed, gently brushing and gathering the curls with last night's pink scrunchie. Maya leaned into her, relaxed, trusting. Damian watched again, that familiar tightening in his throat. "I was going to offer a ride to the station," he said. "But if you're between places, the guest room can be yours a while. It's quiet, and Maya clearly likes you here." Naomi's hands stilled in Maya's hair. "Are you offering me a job?" she asked carefully. Damian hesitated. "Not exactly, not yet. Mostly space and a little structure." "Maya hasn't laughed like this in months," he admitted. Naomi straightened, spine instinctively stiff. "I'm not looking for pity," she said. "Neither am I," he replied softly. "It's not pity, it's presence, and I think we both need that." Naomi glanced at Maya, now proudly posting her drawing on the fridge. 3 stick figures holding hands under falling snow. "I don't do halfway," Naomi said. "If I stay, I'm all in. I care, fully." "That's all I'm asking," Damian said. Later that morning, Naomi scrambled eggs slow and creamy, the way her grandmother had taught. Maya sat at the island, swinging her feet, wearing those bear socks, firing questions between bites. "Where'd you grow up?" Maya asked. "Georgia, tiny town, too many pecan trees," Naomi answered. "Did you have a dog?" "A goldfish named Admiral Bubbles," she said. Maya burst out laughing, nearly spilling her milk. Damian watched from the table, quietly sipping coffee, soaking in the scene as if afraid it might vanish. After breakfast, Naomi insisted on cleanup. Her body moved slower than usual, but every movement felt intentional, grounded. As she wiped the table, she spotted a small antique clock on a shelf, its face cracked, ticking unevenly, stubborn but still working. "A little broken," she murmured. Damian glanced up. "It was my wife's," he said. "Hasn't quite worked right since the accident." Naomi's chest tightened. "Still beautiful," she said quietly. Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, maybe, and gratitude. That afternoon, Naomi bundled Maya and took her outside to catch the snowflakes on their gloves. The girl spun in the driveway, arms wide, laughter floating up into the pale sky like tiny bells. For a heartbeat, joy didn't feel hypothetical. It felt present, here. That night, after Maya was asleep and the house settled, Damian paused at Naomi's doorway. She looked up from the paperback resting in her lap. "I wanted to thank you," he said. "For what?" Naomi asked honestly. "For being gentle with her, for making this place feel less like a mausoleum," he said. Naomi shut her book. "She's a remarkable kid. She didn't let anyone touch her hair for almost 2 years, he added. Naomi blinked, stunned. She trusts you, Damian said softly. Or maybe you remind her of something she's been missing. Naomi stared into the fire, then back at him. I'm not trying to replace anyone, she said firmly. I know, he answered. That isn't what this is. He hesitated at the doorway. Good night, Naomi. Good night, Damian, she replied. As the flames behind her crackled, she realized she didn't feel cold anymore. Warm not just from cocoa or quilts, but from something gentler, like the first candle lit after a long blackout. By the third morning, Naomi's body had calmed. The fever was mostly gone, leaving only a cloak of tiredness over her shoulders. The biting cold had been replaced by something steadier. Routine, familiarity, the beginnings of a life. She woke before sunrise, padding down the hallway in soft socks. In the kitchen, she brewed coffee by instinct, grind, scoop, pour, stir, hands moving with the ease of old habits she thought she'd lost. She set out 2 mugs, one for herself, one beside a neatly folded napkin for Damian. On it, she wrote in small cursive, "Good luck today, or at least fewer meetings." The coffee maker hissed and sputtered. Naomi smiled to herself. There was comfort in doing small, thoughtful things for someone who hadn't demanded them, but would quietly notice. When Damian walked in, Ty half nodded, he halted. "You're up early," he said. "Hard to turn off old schedules," she replied, sliding his mug toward him. He read the note, folded it once, and tucked it into his jacket pocket like something precious. "Thank you." Maya thundered down minutes later, pajama top mismatched with different bottoms, one slipper. Missing. Her hair looked like it had tried to escape in 5 directions. Naomi lifted the brush. "Emergency hair situation?" she asked. "Please," Maya sighed. "Can I have 2 braids today?" "You got it," Naomi said, working through the curls with patient hands, humming a low gospel tune under her breath as Damian watched quietly over the rim of his mug. By the time Maya was dressed, fed, and backpack ready, Damian checked his watch. "I'll take her to school," he said. "I figured," Naomi answered, grabbing Maya's red coat. "I'll walk her out." At the car, Maya wrapped her arms around Naomi's waist before scrambling inside. Damian hesitated with the door open. "She's lighter lately," he said. Naomi nodded. "Kids can tell when the air in a house changes." "So can adults," he replied, meeting her gaze for a second before closing the door. As he drove away, Naomi finished her coffee alone, watching snow begin again outside the tall kitchen windows like tiny drifting letters. She wandered the hallways, steps slow, passing rooms she hadn't entered. The house was beautiful, but missing something important. A heartbeat, clutter, music. No framed family vacations. No scribbled grocery lists on the fridge. Grief's home, not life's. She paused at a closed door. Her hand hovered above the knob, then fell. "Not my space," she reminded herself. Instead, she cleaned the guest bathroom and folded the fresh laundry the housekeeper left, though no one asked her to. It felt like a quiet exchange for the warmth she'd been given. Later, she walked to the corner bodega. The snow had gentled to flurries. She bought toothpaste, a new pink bristle brush for Maya, and lemons for tea. At the register, the older man behind the counter studied her. "You the new help up at the Hale place?" he asked. Naomi froze. "Just staying a while," she said. He nodded. "That little girl's been through hell. Sweet kid. Deserves some good." Naomi offered a soft smile and headed back, wind tugging at her coat. She thought about how people shrink each other into job titles: help, guest, nanny. forgetting who existed before life fell apart. That night, Damian came home later than usual. Maya, already in pajamas, sat curled next to Naomi on the couch, a picture book in her lap. Naomi looked up as he shrugged off his coat. "Long day?" "The kind that pretends it'll never end," he said. Maya perked up. "Daddy, look what we made." She held up a plate of slightly overbaked cookies, some star-shaped, others lopsided hearts. Powdered sugar dusted everything, including Naomi's sleeve. "Baking therapy," Naomi said, grinning tiredly. "Her playlist, pure Motown." Maya nodded proudly. "We dance too." Damian chuckled, the sound rusty but real. "This house hasn't heard that kind of joy in a long time." He sat on the edge of the couch, picking up a cookie. "Star or heart?" "Heart," Maya decided. He bit into it and winced exaggeratedly. "You sure this isn't a rock?" Maya squealed, launching into his lap with a hug. Later, after Maya fell asleep clutching her bear, crumbs still clinging to her pillowcase, Naomi stepped into the hallway and found Damian standing there in the dim light, staring at nothing. "She asked if you'd read bedtime again," he said. "I will," Naomi answered. "She also asked if you're staying forever," he added. Naomi crossed her arms. "What did you tell her?" "That grown-ups don't always know that answer," he said. "But I also told her something else, that sometimes the people who show up in the middle of a storm are the ones meant to stay," he finished. Naomi looked toward the window where fresh snow started drifting down. "You ever grow anything?" he asked quietly. "Like plants?" she asked, confused. "Garden, herbs, anything," he said. Naomi smiled faintly. "Not really. Where I grew up, the dirt was mostly clay and hope." He huffed softly. "My wife tried every spring. Nothing survived past July. Some seeds still take root," Naomi said. "They just need the right ground." Their eyes met. He was the first to look away. "Good night, Naomi." "Good night, Damian," she replied. On the fridge later, she noticed a new drawing from Maya. 3 stick figures under a bright sun instead of snow. A fourth stood off to the side, smaller, not yet holding hands. Naomi stared at it for a long time. A seed had been planted. Outside, winter still ruled. Inside, something delicate had begun to grow. The next morning came like the others, quiet, dim, but the silence now felt expectant, like the beat before a favorite song begins. Naomi rose early again, feet carrying her to the kitchen on a rhythm she already knew. She brewed coffee slowly, enjoying the ritual. This arrangement wasn't easy to label, job, refuge, detour, but it held a fragile peace. Today's napkin beside Damian's mug read, "One breath at a time. That's how every storm passes." She folded it neatly before starting breakfast. Just eggs, sourdough toast, and blueberries, which Maya insisted made her brain faster. Almost on cue, Maya's small footsteps thudded down the stairs. "Morning, sunshine," Naomi said. "Is it Saturday?" Maya asked groggily. "It's Tuesday," Naomi answered. "So, no cartoons? Maybe one episode if we braid your hair and eat fast," she bargained. Maya lit up. Naomi guided her onto a stool, gently brushing out sleep-tangled curls. The girl hummed the same tune Naomi had sung the day before. At 7:40, Damian entered, freshly shaved, suit sharp, tired, still clinging to his eyes. He read today's napkin, smiled, actually smiled, before taking his first sip. Naomi pretended not to notice, but caught it anyway. The house, like its owner, was beginning to soften at the edges. Later, with both of them gone, Naomi walked upstairs again and paused near that closed door. It stayed shut. She turned away, went downstairs, found a small vase under the sink, filled it with water. She stepped into the snow-frosted backyard, gathered a few stubborn winter berries and evergreen sprigs, arranging them simply. She placed the tiny burst of color on the hallway table beneath a framed black-and-white photo of the Brooklyn Bridge. Maybe the house needed more small touches like that. The rest of the day she reorganized the pantry, tossed expired jars, folded Maya's forgotten laundry piles. There was comfort in the rhythm of care, in choosing tenderness. In the afternoon a package arrived, Maya's new snow boots. Naomi checked the size, then left them on the girl's bed with a note. "For your next snow adventure." That evening, Damian came home earlier than expected, grocery bags in hand. "I thought we could make dinner together," he said. Naomi blinked. "You cook?" "I follow instructions," he replied. "Not quite the same," she teased. He shrugged. "Close enough." They stood side by side, chopping and laughing in the bright kitchen. Maya colored at the table while they debated garlic amounts and chased runaway carrot slices. As the chicken roasted, the house filled with a smell it hadn't known in years. Simple, homey food made for nobody but themselves. At dinner, Maya inhaled deeply. "Smells like Grandma's house," she said. "Your mom's mom?" Damian asked. Maya nodded. "She used to sing in the kitchen." Naomi glanced at Damian, catching grief and warmth colliding behind his eyes. Afterward, they cleaned together. Maya washed her plastic plates from a step stool. Naomi dried, Damian rinsed. It almost looked staged, like a commercial, yet everything about it felt normal, lived in, right. Later, Naomi stepped onto the back patio for air. The snow had stopped, a thin glittering crust shining in moonlight. She crossed her arms against the chill, breath puffing white. "I used to love snow," Damian said behind her. "Before?" she asked. "Before it became a reminder," he answered. "The night we lost her, it snowed like this. I waited outside the ER for hours. When they told me," he stopped, words shredding in his throat. Naomi stayed quiet, giving space. "I kept thinking, how can the world be so white and calm when everything inside me's shattering?" he said. Her eyes stung. "This winter's the first I haven't hated it," he admitted. "Because of you," he added softly. Naomi swallowed. "I'm just a guest," she said. Damian shook his head. "You're more than that, Naomi." He turned back toward the warm house, leaving her under the silver sky, heart pounding. The next morning brought more of the familiar little rituals. Coffee, napkins, hair braids, blueberries. But now, every shared glance and almost touch carried a new, unspoken weight. Underneath the routine, something fragile and real was quietly forming. Then came the night the storm returned without warning. Snow hurled itself against the windows in thick sheets, wind howling through the eaves like ghosts demanding to be heard. Naomi woke, heart racing, unsure why. Her room glowed dimly, fire reduced to embers. The old ache in her muscles whispered of too many cold nights. Then she heard it, a small, broken whimper, light and scared, definitely not the wind. She slipped from bed, pulling on her robe, padding into the hallway. The sound came again, higher now, unmistakably a child's cry. Naomi's chest tightened. She moved quickly toward Maya's door, left slightly ajar. The nightlight cast gold and gray shadows over scattered stuffed animals. Maya sat upright, clutching her bear, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. "Hey, baby," Naomi whispered, crossing the room in 2 strides, climbing onto the bed. She gathered Maya into her lap like something precious. "I'm here. You're okay. I've got you," she murmured, rocking gently. Maya grabbed at Naomi's robe with trembling fingers. "Don't go," she choked. "Please don't go." I'm not going anywhere, Naomi said firmly. Maya buried her face against Naomi's chest, sobbing. Then, barely audible, came the word that froze everything. Mommy, please don't leave again. The room held its breath. Naomi's heart cracked wide open. She tightened her arms, rocking the girl slowly. You're safe, Maya, I promise. I've got you, she whispered, voice shaking. In the hallway, Damian stood frozen, unseen, his world tilting. He'd come to check the same sound, intending only to tug up a blanket. Now he watched from the shadows, unable to step inside. That one word, Mommy, hit him like a punch he hadn't braced for. He couldn't move as Naomi soothed Maya back into sleep, stroking her curls, humming softly. When the girl finally relaxed, Naomi laid her down, tucked the blanket up, and kissed her forehead. Damian slipped away before she emerged. He spent the night in the dark living room, the storm outside echoing the one inside him. No sleep came, only looping memories and fresh ache. Naomi sensed the difference the next morning the moment she entered the kitchen. The air felt off, heavy, tense, no coffee brewing, no clink of dishes. She still made pancakes shaped like clouds the way Maya liked. When the girl finally appeared, she was quieter, her usual sparkle muted. Want me to walk you to the car? Naomi asked. Maya nodded, eyes downcast. They waited by the door, but Damian didn't appear, not that morning, not the next. He moved around the house like a stranger visiting. Passing Naomi in the hallway, he gave only polite nods, eyes sliding away. The man who'd joked over onions and built blanket forts disappeared, replaced by the distant, polished billionaire she'd first imagined. Naomi knew why. He'd heard his daughter call her Mommy. For Naomi, the word had brought unexpected warmth. For Damian, it reopened wounds he'd barely held closed. Grief, raw and relentless, flooded back into every room, pushing him farther away. Maya still reached for Naomi's hand, still begged for stories, still giggled when they baked. But Damian had withdrawn from the space between them, physically present yet emotionally absent, like a light dimmed behind frosted glass. One night, when the house had gone still, Naomi walked the hallway and stopped at that door again. This time, it was cracked open. She hesitated, then gently pushed it wider and stepped inside. The room looked frozen in time. Medical journals and novels lined shelves. A pale blue comforter lay perfectly tucked. On the nightstand, a framed photo showed a dark-haired woman smiling with her whole face. Lavender lingered faintly in the air. Naomi didn't touch anything. She stood quietly, letting the room speak. "You found it," Damian's voice came from the doorway. She turned. He braced a hand on the frame. "I haven't changed a thing," he said. "She was everything." "You don't have to erase her," Naomi said gently. "Maya still needs someone now, and so do you." Damian stared at the room, then at Naomi, not as a replacement, but as someone who'd stepped into his storm. "I'm terrified," he admitted, voice barely there. "Me too," Naomi answered softly. She stepped past him into the hallway, leaving the door open behind her. Somehow, that simple act shifted the entire house's balance. Weeks later, a thin winter sun hung over Central Park instead of snow. Trees stood bare, but the air felt kinder. Maya ran ahead in her new red coat, chasing pigeons, laughter ringing along the path. Naomi and Damian walked side by side, steps unconsciously matched. Naomi held Maya's mittens in her gloved hand, ready when the girl tired of running. A thermos of cocoa jutted from Damian's pocket. They'd filled it together earlier. "She's glowing," Naomi said, watching Maya twirl near a snow-dusted bench. "She looks lighter," Damian agreed, like something finally let go. Or like someone finally let her feel again, Naomi offered. Their eyes met for a heartbeat, then dropped. They stopped by the pond's edge. Maya dashed back, cheeks flushed, breath puffing clouds. "Can we take a picture?" she begged. Damian smiled, pulled out his phone. Before he could unlock it, a man across the path raised a camera. The shutter snapped. Naomi flinched. Damian's eyes narrowed as the stranger slipped into the crowd. "Who was that?" she asked. "No idea," he said. Maya climbed onto the bench, looping her arms around both adults for their own photo. They smiled for Maya, but something invisible had shifted. By late afternoon, a shot of them appeared on a New York celebrity sighting account. Reclusive billionaire Damian Hale in Central Park, with mystery maid and daughter, winter romance. By nightfall, it had gone viral. The next morning, Damian didn't mention it, but Naomi saw how his jaw tightened when he checked his phone. She didn't ask. At the pediatric ward that weekend, the whispers caught her instead. "You're trending," said Carla, a sharp-tongued nurse cornering Naomi at her locker. "Who?" Naomi asked. "You and Mr. Billionaire Snowstorm." Carla smirked. "Everyone's talking. That photo's everywhere." Naomi shut her locker. "It's not like that." "Funny," Carla said. "He hasn't denied it. No press statement, no nothing." Naomi exhaled. "He doesn't owe anyone explanations." "Maybe," Carla shrugged, "but people love a scandal." The words knotted in Naomi's chest as she headed back home. That night at dinner, Maya chattered about school projects and a boy who tried to eat glue. The air around the table felt thinner. No one said the word photo. No one mentioned headlines or gossip. After Maya's bedtime, Naomi lingered in the kitchen. Damian stood rinsing mugs, face unreadable. "People are talking," she said finally. "I know," he answered. His shoulders tightened, eyes fixed on the sink. Silence stretched between them. "I can handle whispers," Naomi said. "I've lived in rooms full of them." "I know," he repeated. She turned toward him. "Can you? Because Maya's in those whispers now, too." His jaw flexed. "I didn't ask for this spotlight." "I didn't either," Naomi replied. "But we're standing in it anyway." The silence hardened, colder than the winter outside. That night, alone in her room, Naomi stared at the scarf folded on the chair, then began to pack. She didn't rage or sob. She folded the lavender-scented scarf carefully, smoothed its edges, tucked away Maya's drawing, her own nightlight. When the company gala invitation arrived days later, Damian handed it to her over breakfast. "I'd like you there, and Maya," he said. Naomi frowned. "Is that really smart?" "It'll be good for people to see you," he insisted. At the gala, Naomi wore a modest navy dress. Maya gleamed in white with a red ribbon. Damian, in a black suit, looked untouchable. Conversations dimmed as they walked into the ballroom. Eyes tracked them. Naomi caught a smear of whispered poison. No pedigree, no legacy name. "Guess convincing a child to call you Mommy works." The words sliced through her like ice water. Her hand tightened on Maya's. She glanced at Damian. He'd heard. His shoulders shifted, but instead of confronting anyone, he offered a practiced smile to an investor and kept talking. Naomi said nothing. She bent to Maya's ear. "Let's head home, sweetheart." Maya nodded, exhausted by the noise. They left early. Damian stayed behind. Back at the house, Naomi moved through the rooms like a ghost, already halfway gone. She gathered her few belongings, placed the scarf on Damian's desk, and set a folded letter beside it. Her handwriting looked steady. Her hand shook. The last line read, Tell Maya I love her as if she were mine. The door closed with a quiet click, not a slam. Later, when Damian returned, the house felt wrong, a chapter missing. He found the scarf and letter waiting. While he read, the world outside blurred. Everything narrowed to her absence. Her nose ring glinted under harsh fluorescent lights, sweater hanging 2 sizes too big. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked. "I'm looking for someone. Naomi Brooks. She might have stayed here." The young woman studied him with tired, sharp eyes. "She doesn't want just anybody tracking her down," she said. "I'm not just anybody," Damian replied, and to his own surprise, his voice shook. "I need to apologize," he managed, "and she needs to hear that a little girl misses her every single day." The woman's expression softened. "She left yesterday," she said. "Early. Packed everything. She said she had an older cousin in Albany," the woman continued. "Caught a morning bus." Damian's chest dropped, but then the clerk added, "She left this, though." She ducked under the desk, rummaging. She straightened with a worn paperback, corners frayed, a white envelope tucked inside. Damian took it with unsteady hands. The cover read, "The color of water." Inside the flap, Naomi's neat signature curved gently. Beneath her name, someone had written, "For whoever needs this, may you remember how to rise from ruins." The envelope bore no name. Inside, a folded letter began, "Damian, if you're reading this, I guess you tried." "I never doubted you would," the letter continued. "That's what stings. You didn't hurt me by loving Grace still. You hurt me when you let me be treated as less than human, when your presence didn't shield me, when the love you hinted at never crossed the room, even with your daughter in my arms," she wrote. "But I get it now. Grief turns even good hearts into cowards. I love Maya. That's never changing. For a while in your house, I glimpsed something like a future. Maybe that was the gift. Maybe it was only ever meant as that. If we ever cross paths again, I hope both of us are braver," she finished. Naomi. Damian closed his eyes, pressing the paper against his chest, as regret and new resolve tangled painfully inside him. That night, back in the Hale house, Maya asked the question she asked every evening now. "Any news?" Damian knelt beside her bed. "She's safe," he said gently. "But she needed time and distance." Maya's face fell. "But I wrote her a letter," Damian added quickly. "Would you like to write another?" Her head bobbed hard. Together they sat at the dining table, blank pages waiting. Damian wrote first, his handwriting small but steady. "Naomi, I was quiet when I should have spoken. Comfortable when I should have been courageous. I let fear and headlines matter more than your dignity. You deserved protection, acknowledgement, truth. I'm sorry, I don't want to move on from what we were. I want to move forward with it. Come home, or let me come to you, please." Maya's letter was short, scrawled in crayon. "I miss you. I love you. Dad tried pancakes, but they weren't as good. Please come back. I kept the red crayon for you." They mailed both letters the next morning at the corner box. Days slid by with no answer, then a week. Maya stopped asking out loud, but Damian never stopped watching the mailbox. One Friday at dusk, as lavender light brushed Manhattan's skyline, a package appeared on their doorstep. No return address. Inside, a drawing of 3 stick figures, hands linked beneath careful handwriting. "Sometimes love steps away to see whether it's truly missed," the note read. "Thank you for noticing. N." Damian flipped it over. On the back, just one line. "See you soon." The first February snowstorm arrived late, but when it came, it fell thick and unhurried. New York buried itself again, moving slower, softer, as if the city were finally exhaling. Maya sat by the fireplace, coloring. Her newest picture glowed with yellows and reds, pure as summer, as if she could scribble spring closer. In the kitchen, Damian poured hot chocolate into 2 waiting mugs. He carefully dropped marshmallows into each, 3 apiece, exactly how Naomi used to. Maya always counted. From the living room, her small voice floated out. "Do you think she'll come back before my birthday?" "I hope so," Damian answered honestly. "She knows where home is. That's something." Maya tilted her head, then drew a small heart in the corner of her paper. "I think she misses us," she said. "I think so too," he murmured. Just then, the doorbell chimed. Damian frowned. No one ever dropped by unannounced, especially not in weather like this, and especially not at this hour. Maya perked up. "Maybe a package." Damian set the mugs down and crossed the foyer, tugging his sweater sleeves lower. When he opened the door, cold air punched in. Then his heart performed a slow, stunned twist. Naomi stood on the stoop, snow dusting her curls and coat shoulders. Her cheeks flushed from the wind. One small suitcase hung from her hand like she'd carried it a long way. "I hope I'm not too late," she said softly. Damian stared, speechless. Then his body reacted before his mind caught up. He stepped aside, holding the door wider, warmth spilling onto the snowy porch. She crossed the threshold slowly. Her boots left damp prints on the hardwood, the scent of cocoa, the scratch of Maya's pencil, the golden light on the floors, all of it wrapped around her chest. Maya glanced up, crayon dropping from her fingers. "Naomi!" she squealed, launching herself across the room. Naomi let the suitcase fall and caught her midair, hugging the child like she might vanish if held softer. "You came back," Maya whispered. "I promised," Naomi said, kissing her hair. "You were never not my family." They stayed tangled together, breathing each other in. Damian watched, throat thick, hands still chilled from the doorknob. Eventually, Maya pulled back, eyes bright. "Want cocoa?" "Dad made it, but that's okay," she added with innocent honesty. Naomi laughed through tears. "I'd love some." Maya dragged her toward the kitchen like no time had passed. They took stools at the island. Naomi on one side, Maya pressed against her, Damian across. The mugs warmed their hands. Silence hovered, not heavy, just tender and uncertain. Naomi drew a breath. "I wasn't sure I could walk back in," she admitted. "Thought it might sound like I was asking for something I hadn't earned." Damian's gaze held hers. "It was yours already," he said. "I needed to hear you say that," she replied. "Out loud, and I needed to know you'd stand up, not just beside me, but for me." Damian nodded. "I failed before," he said. "I won't again." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet pouch, sliding it across the counter. Naomi hesitated, then opened it. Inside lay a simple gold pendant, oval, warm against her fingers. On the back, one word was engraved, "Home." "It's not a present," Damian said. "It's a promise that this house, this life isn't whole without you in it." Naomi traced the letters, breath catching. Before she could answer, Maya placed her small hand over Naomi's. "Please don't leave again," she said. "I won't," Naomi whispered. "Not unless you chase me out with a broom." Maya giggled. Damian finally exhaled the breath he'd been holding for weeks. That night, they curled on the living room couch. Naomi with Maya tucked against her, Damian at the other end, legs stretched toward the fire's glow. Maya drifted off first, Bear clutched tight. Over her sleeping head, Damian met Naomi's eyes. I don't want to rush anything, he said, but there's something I need to ask you. Ask, she said, arching a brow. Will you stay? He managed, like, really stay? She smiled a little. You mean forever stay? Maybe not forever tonight, he said, but long enough for Maya to stop drawing stick figures, long enough for us to build something real. Naomi considered him for a slow heartbeat, then nodded. Yeah, she said, I think I can stay for that. Later, he walked her toward the familiar guest room, the same room she'd once filled with packed bags and silent goodbyes. They paused at the threshold. He touched her hand. I meant what I wrote, he said, about moving forward, not erasing the past. I know, she answered, and I'm not here to rewrite what you had with Grace. I'm here to help write what comes next. He smiled. Feels like we've already started. Morning sunlight filtered through the curtains like it remembered the way in. For the first time in weeks, the Hale house didn't wake to emptiness. It woke to muffled laughter and the smell of something sweet. Naomi stood at the stove barefoot, humming Motown under her breath, flipping pancakes, heart-shaped this time. Maya sat on the counter, hair tangled, pajama pants too short, grinning at the sizzling batter. I think today deserves heart pancakes, Maya declared. What's the occasion? Naomi teased. You came back, Maya said seriously. That's like real-life Valentine's Day. Naomi's chest tightened. Then we'll make hearts until the love runs out. That's a lot of pancakes, Maya giggled. In the doorway, Damian watched quietly, newspaper in one hand, coffee in the other. For a moment, he simply stood there, memorizing the scene like a man starved. When Naomi turned and caught him staring, she smiled. Open, unguarded. You're up late, she joked. Had a good reason finally to sleep in, he answered. Maya hopped down, hugging his waist. We're making pancakes forever now. Forever's a long time, he said. Exactly, Maya replied, matter of fact. Naomi handed him a plate, stacked high with hearts. They ate at the kitchen table, passing syrup, trading jokes, feeling the house settle into something like peace. After breakfast, Damian drove Maya to school. Naomi stayed behind, rinsing dishes, humming contentedly. When he returned, she stood in the backyard, wrapped in his too-big coat, staring at the neglected garden plot. What are you plotting? He asked from the porch. This yard's got potential, she said. A swing, tulips, maybe tomatoes. He raised a brow. So you're staying long enough to harvest tomatoes? She turned, eyes playful. You planning to give me a reason? He descended the steps. One honest reason at a time, he said. She brushed his collar, studying him. You've changed, she murmured. So have you, he replied. I know it's early, he continued, and delicate, but I've never seen Maya this alive, or felt this sure that we could be something whole, not perfect, just whole. Naomi slipped the pendant from her pocket, the one engraved Home. She pressed it into his palm. I never wore it, she admitted. Not because I didn't want to, because I was scared I'd believe it too much. Now, he asked. Now I'm ready to believe, she said. That night, after Maya fell asleep to Naomi's steady storytelling, Damian poured 2 glasses of wine and waited in the den. Naomi joined him, curling into the opposite corner of the couch. They didn't talk right away. They listened to the fire crackle, to the quiet that finally felt gentle instead of sharp. I've been thinking about reopening Grace's clinic, Damian said at last. Naomi turned. The one in Harlem? He nodded. She built it from scratch. It's sat closed ever since. Feels wrong. Naomi rested her hand on his. I think that'd be beautiful. He inhaled. I want you involved, if you want. You understand people and you care. You'd help keep her legacy alive without turning you into her shadow." Naomi was quiet for several beats. "I'd love that," she finally said. Damian relaxed, some tension slipping from his shoulders. "Naomi?" "Yeah," she answered. "I'm not staying only for Maya, or you," he said. "I'm staying because I want something to grow," she finished. He nodded. She reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. For the first time in years, Damian didn't feel like a man barely surviving loss. He felt like someone planting roots. Days slid into a rhythm that felt almost unreal. Family dinners, card games on the coffee table, stories traded over simmering pasta. But peace, like winter sunlight, is fragile and easily disturbed. One Wednesday evening, the doorbell rang. Naomi was setting the table, Maya upstairs brushing teeth and singing loudly. Damian opened the door without checking the camera, a habit from lonelier days. This time, it was a mistake. On the threshold stood Celeste Warren, one of Grace's older society friends, early 50s, immaculate camel coat and designer bag clutched like a weapon. "I saw the coverage," she said briskly, sweeping past him uninvited. "Celeste, now's not," he started. She ignored him, eyes scanning the foyer. Her gaze landed on Naomi's scarf folded neatly on the side table. "So it's true. The maid is still here," she said coolly. "She has a name," Damian replied, voice flat. "Names don't buy a seat at certain tables." Celeste sniffed. He stepped between her and the rest of the house. "Why are you here?" he demanded. "I'm trying to spare you disaster," she said. "This, whatever this is, won't end well. Investors, clients, society pages, they're all whispering that you've lost your mind since Grace died." "I didn't fall," he said. "I grieved. And now you're playing house with someone whose resume wouldn't get her through half your charity galas." Celeste hissed. "You really think your daughter won't pay for this someday?" Before Damian could answer, Naomi's voice floated from the hallway. "That's enough!" Celeste turned. Naomi stood with a folded napkin in hand, posture relaxed, eyes blazing. "This is his home, and it's mine now, too. You don't get to walk in here and spit on that because it doesn't fit your script," Naomi continued. Celeste scoffed. "You think this little domestic fantasy can protect you. This isn't a children's story, dear." "No," Naomi agreed. "Fairy tales don't come with grief, racism, or judgment wrapped in couture. This is real. The hurt, the healing, and the love we're building despite people like you." "You're nothing," Celeste snapped. "I'm everything Maya needs," Naomi replied, stepping closer, "and exactly the kind of woman Grace would have wanted near her daughter." The air seemed to crackle. Celeste's face darkened. "You'll regret this," she told Damian. He didn't move. "I already regret letting voices like yours direct my life," he said calmly. Celeste spun on her heel and marched out, heels striking the marble like gunshots. When the door shut, silence followed. "I'm sorry," Damian said to Naomi. She shook her head. "You're not responsible for her," she answered. He stepped closer. "I am sorry for all the times I let people like her speak louder than me, or you." "You didn't today," Naomi said. From upstairs, Maya called, "I'm ready for my story." Naomi started toward the stairs. Damian caught her hand. "She's not the last ghost," he said quietly. "Are you sure you're strong enough for this?" Naomi met his eyes steadily. "I've survived worse than whispers," she said. That night, as she tucked Maya in and hummed softly, Damian sat outside the bedroom door listening. When Naomi stepped out, he simply held out his hand. Later, downstairs, he brought out an old photo album he hadn't touched since the funeral. "Want to see her?" he asked. Naomi hesitated, then nodded. Page by page, he showed Grace laughing, dancing, holding baby Maya. They spoke quietly, not about what was gone, but about what could be honored. When he closed the album, Naomi rested her head on his shoulder. "She was stunning," she murmured. "She would have liked you," he replied, "and challenged you. She challenged everyone," he added, smiling faintly. Outside, wind rattled bare branches. Inside, for once, the storm had passed. By March, tiny green shoots began to push through the thawing soil in the garden beds. Naomi had started planting even while frost still lingered. "Things need time underground before they can bloom," she'd said, hands buried in dirt. She wasn't just talking about flowers. Every Saturday, Maya joined, pink beanie crooked on her head. She dug earnestly with a little trowel while Naomi coached. "Not too deep, baby. Let the earth breathe." Damian watched from the patio, coffee warming his hands, world narrowing happily to this small, messy scene. But real things rarely stay untouched. One Monday, Damian's phone rang at dawn. "Mr. Hale, this is Serena Cole from Northbridge Capital," came the clipped voice. "We need to talk." He exhaled. "What's wrong?" "In person would be better," she said. "Some board members received anonymous letters, questions about your personal choices." Damian rubbed his temples. "You mean the woman I love?" There was a pause. "That's one characterization," Serena replied carefully. That afternoon they met in a glass-walled conference room. Serena slid a folder across the table. Screenshots, gossip posts, emails. "No formal violations," she said, "but perception shapes influence. The board is uneasy." "And they suggest?" he asked. "Distance," she said, "at least publicly. Fewer appearances, no red carpets with your partner. Let things cool down." Damian stood slowly. "I built this company on transparency, not cowardice," he said. "I'm not turning the woman I love into a secret." Serena sighed. "Then be ready for pushback." "I've been pushed worse," he answered. That night, as quesadillas sizzled on the stove, he watched Naomi and Maya laughing over spilled juice. They were worth all of it. Later, after Maya's bedtime and a sink full of dishes, he told Naomi about the meeting. She listened, arms folded, eyes steady. "I figured something like that was coming," she said. "It still burns," he admitted. "I've been a problem to people like that long before you met me," she said. "This isn't new for me." Damian took her hand. "You're not a problem. You're my second beginning." She studied him. "And if it costs you everything you've built?" He didn't hesitate. "Then I'll build better," he said. She said nothing for a long beat, then wrapped her arms around him, cheek against his chest. "I won't let you torch your life for me," she murmured. "You're not the fire," he replied. "You're the reason I'd walk through it." The next day, he did something no advisor recommended. He called a press conference. No glossy campaign, no crafted spin, just Damian standing at a podium with the city seal behind him, facing a sea of cameras. "I've been fortunate to lead Hale Holdings," he began. "But no empire is worth protecting if it demands silence when truth needs a voice." He scanned the crowd. "Naomi Brooks isn't a scandal. She's family. She is kind, brave, and she taught my daughter to laugh again. If that offends anyone invested in my companies," he continued, "they're free to invest elsewhere. This country was built by people who loved to cross lines fear drew. I refuse to redraw those lines in my home." By the time he stepped away, his phone buzzed nonstop, half praise, half outrage. but his back was straighter, his chest lighter. When he pulled into the driveway, Naomi and Maya waited on the front steps. "I saw," Naomi said as he approached. He sat beside her. "I didn't do it to prove anything," he said. "I just couldn't let others twist our story." She turned, eyes bright. "I love you," she said. The words were soft, simple, solid. Damian's gaze softened. "I love you, too." From Naomi's lap, Maya grinned. "So, are you guys getting married, or what?" They laughed. Naomi rested her head on Damian's shoulder. "Let's grow the garden first." For now, that was enough. The days after the conference brought a surprising calm. No demand for resignation. Stock prices held. Some investors walked. Others, better ones, came forward, drawn by the spine behind his words. But not everyone surrendered the old narrative. One morning, after dropping Maya at school, Damian watched a black SUV pull up. From it stepped Harold Pierce, late 60s, silver hair, former board chair, and longtime guardian of legacy. "Harold," Damian greeted coolly. "We should talk," the older man said. "Not here," Damian replied, glancing at children nearby. "Then choose somewhere," Harold answered. They met that evening at a private lounge heavy with leather, shadows, and old smoke. "I watched you build Hale Holdings from nothing but your last name," Harold said, skipping small talk. "And now I'm watching you risk it all over a woman who, however lovely, won't be welcomed everywhere." "Then I need different rooms," Damian replied. Harold sighed. "This isn't just about you. It's about what you leave Maya. Do you want her paying for your stubbornness when she's older?" "Don't drag my daughter into your prejudice," Damian said quietly. "This isn't prejudice, it's realism," Harold snapped. Damian stood. "No, it's fear. Yours, not mine. I'd rather change the room than bow to it," he said, walking out. That night, Naomi noticed his quiet. She was folding laundry in what had become their room, both their clothes in the closet, Maya's drawings in the nightstand. "Rough day?" she asked. He told her everything. When he finished, she didn't offer platitudes, only truth. "People have looked at me like a problem my whole life," she said. "Like my skin came with terms and conditions. I hate that for Maya." "So do I," he said. She folded a shirt neatly. "Then we show her a love that doesn't flinch when people stare. When they throw stones, we build something with them instead." He smiled faintly. "You're starting to sound like me," he teased. "Nah," she said. "You're finally sounding like me." The next morning, Damian made another unconventional choice. He brought Maya to the board meeting. She sat beside him at the long table, feet swinging, teddy bear in hand. "Everyone," Damian said, "this is Maya. She doesn't hold shares or titles. She's my actual legacy. You talk about protecting the brand," he continued. "I'm focused on what she'll remember. The woman you're nervous about makes her feel safe. That's my priority." He glanced down. "Want to say anything, kiddo?" Maya shrugged. "Naomi makes the best pancakes and hugs," she said. "She makes our house feel like home." Silence followed. Finally, Serena Cole lifted a hand. "That's good enough for me." Damian squeezed Maya's hand and left. That evening, he found Naomi in the garden kneeling beside a stubborn sprout. "It made it," she whispered. "So did we," he answered. "Even if more storms come?" she asked. "Especially then," he replied, taking her hand. They didn't need grand vows, just fingers laced together over shared soil. Spring rolled in with longer light and tulip buds. Maya called them Naomi's flowers, and labeled them with a handmade sign. Inside, the house finally felt lived in. Photos on walls, shoes in piles, music drifting from the kitchen. Yet the past still had one more door to knock on. One Wednesday, an unmarked cream envelope slid under the front door. The handwriting was sharp and elegant. Damian recognized it instantly. Grace's mother, Evelyn Ross. He carried the letter to his study, hands suddenly unsteady, and unfolded it slowly. "Damian," it began. "I saw the footage. I've waited long enough." "I'd like to meet her," Evelyn wrote. "Not to scold, to understand." Damian read the note 3 times. Later that night, he told Naomi. She folded a towel carefully. "Okay," she said. "Just okay?" he asked. "You're not terrified?" "Oh, I'm terrified," she said. "But if I say no, she'll think I'm hiding. I don't hide anymore." They arranged brunch on Sunday, quiet cafe, Upper West Side. When Sunday came, Naomi wore a simple navy dress and a light trench, curls loose. Maya stayed with a friend. Evelyn was already seated, tall, silver hair twisted neatly, pearls gleaming at her throat, cane resting nearby. Her cool gray eyes measured them as they approached. "Evelyn," Damian greeted. "Mrs. Ross," Naomi said, offering her hand. "Naomi," the older woman corrected, shaking firmly. The waiter took orders and left them in a small, charged silence. "I wasn't kind to Grace that last year," Evelyn said at last. She was exhausted. "I thought she was ungrateful, dramatic. I judged instead of asking why." Her napkin trembled in her hands. "When she died, I made everything about my own pain. I blamed God, then you, then everyone. I shut my door to anything that reminded me I'd failed her," Evelyn said. Naomi listened quietly, eyes soft. "Then I saw a photo of my granddaughter smiling again," Evelyn continued. "Beside you. Joy I hadn't seen since Grace, and I had to ask myself, what right do I have to resent you?" "I'm not trying to take her place," Naomi said. "I wouldn't let you," Evelyn replied dryly. Then her tone softened. "Love doesn't replace, it roots. And you've given that child roots again." "She saved me too," Naomi admitted. They talked for nearly 2 hours, about Grace's favorite songs, Maya's nightmares, Damian's stubbornness. When they stood, Evelyn pulled out a small velvet box. Inside lay a gold locket etched with a rose. Inside, a tiny photo of Grace cradling newborn Maya. "I want her to have this someday," Evelyn said. "Until then, you keep it, so she knows this family reaches forward, not back." Naomi closed the box, fingers tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're stronger than I was at your age," Evelyn said. "Don't let this world wear you down." To Damian, she added, "Protect them, with more than your money." That night, they showed the locket to Maya. She held it reverently. "I wish Mommy Grace could see us," she whispered. "I think she can," Naomi said, kissing her forehead. Outside, the garden surged with new color. Tulips flared beside rows of basil. White blossoms dotted the fence. Maya's sunflowers shot up daily. One afternoon, as Naomi coaxed a rosebush into softer soil, she heard Damian's voice at the front door, tense, low. "Why are you here?" he asked. Naomi rounded the corner to see a woman in her early 40s at the threshold. Sleek blonde hair, tailored coat, monogrammed handbag. "I called," she said. "You ignored me, so I came, Damian." Naomi realized this must be Monica Price, one of Grace's old colleagues and former clinic partner. Monica's gaze flicked over Naomi. "So the rumors are true," she said coolly. "You replaced your wife with the help." Damian stepped between them. "You're not walking into my home and disrespecting Naomi," he said. Monica laughed bitterly. Is that what this is? You needed someone to fill the silence? Get to the point, he said. Monica opened her bag, sliding papers out. You're trying to reopen Grace's clinic, but the land deed still lists me as partial owner. She never filed the change. Legally, I still hold 25%. Naomi stepped forward. What do you want? Monica met her gaze. Control, she answered. Either he buys me out at triple market value, or I sell my share to someone else. I won't let a stranger rewrite Grace. I know her daughter, Naomi said quietly. I've held her through nightmares, loved her like my own. Do you really think Grace wouldn't have wanted that? Monica's mouth tightened, but she said nothing and left. That evening, Naomi sat on the porch, turning the locket over and over. You could just pay her, she said as Damian handed her tea. Keep the peace. I'm done buying peace that comes from surrender, he replied. Then we fight, Naomi said. Later, while Maya slept, Damian spread old file boxes across his office floor. Contracts, donation records, partnership forms Grace had left behind. At 2 a.m, he finally found it. A handwritten amendment, signed by Grace and Monica, witnessed but never filed, clearly relinquishing Monica's claim. Proof! Damian breathed. She gave up her rights, she just never followed through. Naomi leaned over his shoulder, heart pounding. Will it hold? She asked. His jaw set. It has to. The next morning, he met Monica at a downtown cafe. Sliding the document across the table, he said, I don't want a courtroom fight, but I'll win if you force one. I'm giving you one chance, he continued. Sign over your share at fair market price. No games. And if I refuse, she challenged, then I make sure every article about the clinic includes your attempt to gut Grace's work, he replied. Her fingers twitched. You used to believe in something, he reminded her. Maybe you still do. He left without waiting for an answer. That evening, a courier delivered a signed deed transfer. No note, just ink, finally catching up. Damian walked out to the garden where Naomi and Maya watered basil. It's ours, he called. The clinic? Naomi asked. He nodded. Maya clapped. Can I plant sunflowers there too? A whole jungle, he said, laughing. Naomi rose, wrapping her arms around his waist. I'm proud of you, she murmured. He kissed her hair. I'm proud of us, he answered. This time, their roots were deep. No one could yank them loose. Opening day of the clinic buzzed with quiet electricity. A new brass sign gleamed on the brick. The Grace Hale Community Wellness Center. Beneath, in smaller letters, Naomi's addition, for everyone who deserves a second chance. No reporters, no sponsors, just neighbors, staff, families, and Maya in a blue dress clutching giant scissors for the ribbon. Ready? Damian asked. Naomi looked at the building, sunlight in her eyes. More than ready, she said. He thanked the crowd, crediting Naomi as the heart of this new chapter. She stepped up, voice steady, promising a place where people's pain and healing would matter equally. Maya cut the ribbon. Applause rose like a blessing. That night, back in their blooming garden, the house smelling of cinnamon and cocoa, Naomi sat with Damian and Maya under the stars. Their hearts beat in a shared rhythm, no longer just surviving winter but finally, truly, home. Dignity can be stolen in a minute, so it must be protected every day. If you're 65 or older, you've lived long enough to know this country can be both generous and cruel in the very same breath. One moment, a person is needed. The next, they're treated like they're disposable. Naomi Brooks learned that the hard way on a winter night that felt like it might never end. sick with fever, hands swollen and raw, and still forced to scrub marble floors as if pain were just a character flaw. Some of you remember jobs where the boss didn't care if you had the flu, where showing up mattered more than being human. But Naomi's situation carried another familiar American sting. Being judged before she even spoke, being reduced to you people, as if her life came with a discount label. And then came that moment that makes your stomach turn even on the page. A glass paperweight hurled like a warning, inches from her head, and a door slammed behind her like a verdict. That's not just workplace cruelty. That's humiliation meant to teach someone their place. In our later years, we've watched enough of life to recognize the pattern. When dignity is attacked, it's rarely just about one person. It's a message to everyone who looks like them, sounds like them, works like them. Stay small, stay quiet. But the storm didn't get the final word. A black SUV stopped. A child's voice, small, steady, named what adults often ignore. She's cold. That's the first lesson right there. Dignity is fragile, and it can slip away fast, but it can also be restored by one brave choice at the right time. Damian didn't hand Naomi charity. He handed her warmth, safety, and the beginning of being seen. And for older readers, that matters, because we know how rare it is for someone with power to use it gently. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's who shows up in the storm. Many of us grew up in an America where family meant one thing: blood ties, wedding rings, Sunday dinners, proper roles. But life has a way of rewriting those definitions. Sometimes the most respectable people are the ones who look away, and sometimes the people who look like they have nothing are the ones who bring a home back to life. Naomi stepped into Damian's house and discovered something you can't buy with any amount of money: warmth that comes from routine, kindness and presence. It started with a bedtime story and a ponytail. That sounds small until you understand the weight of it. Maya hadn't let anyone touch her hair since her mother died. If you've ever watched a child carry grief, you know how it hides in strange places. A stiff shoulder, a sudden silence, a refusal to be held. Maya's trust wasn't a cute detail. It was a door unlocking. But this lesson isn't just sweet, it's also sharp. Because love, real love, costs something. Naomi didn't want pity. Damian didn't want a housekeeper he could ignore. What formed between them was an uncomfortable truth. Healing requires commitment, and commitment requires courage. Naomi told him plainly, "I don't do halfway." That line should land with anyone who has stayed in a marriage through illness, or raised kids while money was tight, or rebuilt after burying someone you loved. Half love breaks people. Whole love holds them together. Still, the storm returned. This time inside the house. Maya called Naomi Mommy in the night, and Damian froze. Grief does that. It turns grown men into ghosts and makes good people shrink. If you've been widowed or you've watched a friend become unrecognizable after loss, you understand? Love isn't the only force in a home. Memory is, too. And memory can either bless you or haunt you. Naomi didn't try to erase grace. She didn't fight the past like it was competition. She respected it, then asked Damian to live anyway. That's the second lesson. Family is not just who you lost. It's who you choose to protect while you're still here. Silence is expensive, and public courage is the only thing that buys peace. Here's where the story gets downright American, the moment private healing collides with public judgment. A photo in Central Park becomes a headline. Whispers turn into accusations. And suddenly, Naomi isn't a person. She's the Maid, The mystery woman, the scandal. Some of you have seen how fast gossip moves in a small town. Now, imagine it moving at the speed of a phone screen. The cruelest part wasn't that strangers talked. It was that Damian, used to power, used to headlines, didn't immediately shield her. Naomi could survive whispers. She'd survived worse than whispers. What she couldn't survive was being left unprotected in a room where people felt entitled to call her nothing. When she walked out, she didn't do it to punish him. She did it to save what was left of her dignity, and older readers know that kind of leaving. It's not loud, it's final. Damian's turning point wasn't a romantic speech. It was accountability. He admitted he'd been quiet when he should have been courageous. He stopped negotiating with people who wanted Naomi hidden. He chose the harder road, telling the truth out loud, even if it cost him money, reputation, board approval, the whole polished legacy men like him are taught to worship. And then they built something that mattered. Reopening Grace's clinic as a living legacy, not a shrine. In America, we love founding stories, but we forget the real work is keeping something alive after tragedy. Naomi didn't replace Grace. She helped carry her mission forward, turning grief into service, service into community. That's the third lesson. Peace doesn't come from staying quiet. It comes from standing up, especially when it's inconvenient. The legacy we leave is what we defend. If you've made it to 65, you know storms don't stop coming. They just change shape. Naomi and Damian didn't win because the world suddenly became kind. They won because they refused to let fear run the house. They chose love that protects, love that speaks, love that builds. And that's the question this story quietly asks every one of us. When dignity is on the line, yours or someone else's, do you step back or do you step forward? After hearing Naomi and Damian's story about dignity, grief, and the kind of love that stands up when the room turns cold, what would you have done if you were in Damian's shoes at that gala? Would you speak up immediately and risk everything, or stay quiet and hope the storm passes? And if you were Naomi, would you walk away to protect your self-respect, or stay and fight for the family you're building? Share your answer in the comments. Hit like if this story moved you, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss more lessons like these.